So what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Today we're here with Danielle Maggoe. Now, we want to talk to her a little bit, about some of her experiences. She have a website, femaleminorityreport.com, and she also have a book coming out as well. Correct, Ms. Danielle?
That's correct.
All right. So in her book, she's talking about experiences that Black women have dealt with in the corporate world. And I've seen some of the instances that Black women have dealt with, just observing. But we definitely like to talk to her more about that. So Danielle, thanks for joining us on the show today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. A lot of people may think, from Female Minority Report is so cliche. We know the struggle. But the question is, does America really truly know the struggle that African American women endure each and every day that we get up and we go to work? A lot of us are overly degreed. Some of us are holding 3 or 4 separate degrees. I myself hold 3 separate degrees, one of which is in physics. The other is in aeronautical science with a concentration in space studies. And my last degree is an MBA with a concentration in global management. And with that being said, we still endure a lot of disrespect. Contrary to what many people believe, racism is still alive and well in every industry you can even think of.
All right. So, Black women, I've seen that they are the most educated women I see out of all the women that's in this country. But yet, when you look at the positions of leadership, it would be a no-brainer to have Black women in all these positions due to the education they have and their accomplishments. So why is it, you being in corporate America, why is it that Black women aren't put in these positions?
I really can't answer that question. That would be left up to the CEOs and the people who build these organizations and companies. I know that we've set laws in place, since 1963, it should have been illegal to discriminate against anyone based on race. But however, we still are at this place where, we have these large disparities and even wage gender gaps. White women get like 79 cents to the white man's dollar, while Black women get 62 cents per every dollar that a white man makes. Hispanics 54 cents. Asians are getting 90 cents. So they're doing a little bit better than the rest of us. And American Indians, which most people forget about, they're only getting 57 cents per dollar. So, with those type of disparities going on, my only guess is that, we hire based on the EEOC and that's it. We don't really truly implement the laws that are set in place for us to really feel and see true equality.
So a lot of, in your experience in corporate America, in relation to, the white women that's a lot of times in these positions, do they have the amount of education that you have, or maybe some of your other Black coworkers have?
I believe that most of the white women I've met have education germane to whatever positions they hold. So in that regard, they're justified, right? Women in general are extremely educated. And it's not to take away from one race or another. However, I'm here to represent women of color because it seems to me that with all the education that we hold, we're not getting the same pay as everyone else. And the question I pose to myself, even in the book, is, well, what's the solution to this? How do we even go about addressing this? Because if it's not education, then they'll use experience, right? So if you're a person who's straight out of undergrad, right, and you're coming in making 50,000 while everyone else is making 80 to 90,000, how can you argue that? Because their argument, the owner is going to say, well, you don't have the experience, right? So they're going to find, my point is, they're going to always find an excuse as to why they will not pay you more. So the only way I see a true solution coming about is through law and actually enforcing the law, holding these companies accountable.
All right. So you said something that perked my ears, and let me kind of explain to you a little bit where we go in our direction here, at least on this platform. We have literally, and probably most of us in this sector have went to war on a couple of words, literally. The word, I know what your book is, and I know what you're getting at with the title, so I'm not even going to mention that. But the term people of a color, minority, we have seen the trick bag with that language. And when they say people of color, it doesn't mean Black people. They'll give everybody else something and then leave me and you out. When they say minority, white women is considered a quote unquote minority. So for us, and what our concern is for sure, is, black women and what they're and black men, what we're dealing with here. So my question is, in relation to black women, are you talking about women in itself? And I know other races of women deal with things too, but we have so many issues in the black community. I feel that we don't have the extra time to deal with other things. I think we have so much going on. Like you say, I don't know if you have children.
I do.
Okay, you have a son.
I have 2 daughters and a husband. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So you have your daughters, your husband. Your husband, could, any black man can be targeted. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So those other groups don't deal with these issues on top of dealing with you being triple educated, and some people can come in with no education and get over you. And have you seen that happen?
Oh, all the time. I've worked with people who didn't have degrees at all doing what I did, and our positions are very technical. So it surprised me. Honestly, it surprised me that this individual had that position when basically you're blocking the position for someone else who has the credentials, the know-how, the tenacity to get in there and really get a job done well. And not to take away from that person, but definitely I did notice there was a lot of favoritism and things that were happening within the industry that I just know wouldn't fly for a person of my skin tone, someone of my descent. Absolutely not.
Well, it is for me, it is taken away from that person because they didn't earn it. You understand? And, like I said, I'm pretty sure, you watched our platform, we discussed that. But for me, and if you don't say it, I will say it. That system that's in this country, we can call it systemic racism, whatever you want to call it. For me, it's white supremacy for sure. They make sure to give them unfair opportunities that they didn't earn, right? So Absolutely. if we got on an equal playing field, they say, okay, woman to woman, man, a lot of them wouldn't have the jobs they have because they say you got to be diseducated to have this job. And a lot of them, they don't have it. Sometimes they can't afford it. And they just get in based on, like you said, favoritism. But we know what the favoritism is. Yeah. We know what the favoritism is. And then you'll be at a company 5, 10, 15, 20 years. You're not late. You're making the company a lot of money. And have you trained, let me ask you a question. This happened to black folks too. Have you trained a supervisor? In other words, they came in new, you trained them, and all of a sudden they became your boss?
That's never happened to me, but I've heard a lot of people that's happened too. I know people personally that's happened to. Yeah. Unfortunately, that's how the game goes. That's how this country operates. And that's something that needs to change. It needs to change because there are so many people that I know that are holding degrees and they can't find jobs. Obviously, now 2020 is a different ball game. But before this pandemic hit, they could not find jobs. And maybe one of the main reasons why is because of what we're talking about right now. There's people out there that are holding positions that do not meet the minimum requirements, and they're holding space for someone who could actually be doing a job well done, and they've earned their way. I mentioned in my book, I said, the amount of disrespect is just so overwhelming for me. I mean, there were so many days that I was skinny, not by choice. I was poor getting through college. I had my first daughter while I was going through college. I was taking care of my grandmother. See, I didn't have that, glittery lifestyle that most kids have that are in middle to higher income families. Like I was in a poverty-stricken area, and I was trying to take care of a family member. That's something that most people won't even feel until they become well over in middle-age adults, when their parents their age starts to increase and health decline. So I was dealing with something that most people never encounter while getting a degree in physics. So I've made an ultimate sacrifice. And then when I finally make it to corporate America, I'm thinking, this is it. I'm going to be doing it. Now they have glass ceilings everywhere. Yeah. It's crazy.
And that's well, for me, it's not crazy because that is done by design, Sister Danielle. Okay. They don't want to see me and you make it. See, one thing they're going to say, Danielle, well, if you just pull yourself up by your bootstraps and not commit crimes, Danielle, maybe people would like you. If you get a job and get an education, and you probably could do something. Then when you do it, now you're being sabotaged.
Yes. That's exactly how I felt. I can't even say it any better than that. One bit of advice I would definitely give people, especially teenagers that are getting through high school now and they're thinking about getting their degrees, also think about getting your business degree. So that way, if there's a business that you would like to open up on your own right, you have the knowledge to do so. Always become the expert in whatever it is your heart desires to do. That way, nobody can take your education and your knowledge away. That's one thing I was taught growing up, and it's so true. I mean, you can't just be a person that they're able to put in a box and that's all you can do. You need to be a trick of all trades.
Right. And also something else I've seen, and maybe you can relate to this too, or maybe you've seen this happen to other people. How is it that in corporate America, when Black people start talking to each other and we just having a good time and just kind of shooting the breeze, right? Yeah. Have you ever noticed like how, and on this channel, we don't really say white, we say the Swahili term Mzungu. So have you ever noticed the Mzungus kind of looking at you and looking and look like they got this look like you trying to plan the freaking new Black Panther revolution over there, and you talking about the kids, you talking about what y'all restaurant. You know
that? Yeah, I absolutely know what you're saying. There used to be some African American people that I worked with that were in administration positions and things like that. And sometimes, they don't even want to go and talk to you because of the looks that you get. And I just think it's ridiculous. We're in the 21st century. Why are we still walking around with the same mentality? And for the people who fear when Black people gather, I don't know what to say to you, but get your life in order, get your mindset in order, because this is a new time. There's so many African American people of color in general, mixed races. You're not going to be able to pinpoint who's Black nowadays. And why do you care? That's the biggest question that I have. Why are you fearful of African Americans grouping together, showing love to one another? We're doing the same things that you guys do. We're human beings. And I think if we all focus on the fact that we're a human race, which God knows only how long that will take for us to actually get there. But if we had that mindset as opposed to you're white, I'm Black, you're Hispanic, I'm Asian. I mean, that's just, like you said, a systematic way to divide us. And it's not going to get us anywhere positive. We see how 2020 is panning out, riots, protests, race wars that are being triggered every day. And if we don't stop, we're not going to see a happy ending at the end of this year.
Well, there's a few things, I want to touch on that you talked about. The first one about that gathering together, like they've been that way ever since you go way back to the plantations, right? And when a lot of our ancestors was revolting, kicking butt, right? They were not putting up with that oppression. They came up with laws, especially in Virginia, that no more than 2 to 3 Black people, they can't be together. And if they see that, they gonna do them something, right? And even from way back then to now, they still it's like branded in them. So like every time they see 2 or 3 of us gathering, we could be laughing and talking about hairstyles or whatever, but in their mind, we plan the next revolt. Okay.
They think you're fighting. Yeah, it's just ridiculous.
Listen, I remember one time on the job, I was talking, it was like 4 brothers together, including myself. We were talking about sports, right? I think we were talking about the NBA or something. And boy, I mean, they were just looking like they were so concerned, and it got so ridiculous that the supervisor say, "Okay, y'all kind of break it up, and y'all kind of go do this and that." They're like, but the work was already being done. The work was done quick, but he was trying to find a reason for us like to break, not even talk to each other, like some freaking slave master, right? And then you have to also think about what you say. Well, what's wrong with us? We have been through hell in America, right? We start off with a disadvantage. They start off with an advantage given to them they didn't earn. You still got 3 degrees, even being set back, even with a glass ceiling, even with economics. You say you grew up in a poor neighborhood just as much as I grew up in a poor neighborhood, right? We wouldn't give them with a silver spoon in our mouth. We didn't show up just because we Black, we get this and that, and we didn't earn crap. And you still got 3 degrees, and you still get up in corporate America, and they're looking at you like, so within them, they feel inferior when you show up because, like, dog, they know what they did to us, and we still getting to where you at when you cheated. Look at the college cheating scandal. They can't even take an SAT. You get what I'm saying?
Exactly. And it's funny that you say, because I was just talking to a friend. She was like, I just don't get it. She's caught up in this. Why are we still debating race? Kind of what I mentioned earlier. And I'm like, well, a race is exactly what it is. It's a race. who the best man or woman is gonna win. You know what I mean? So why would they give you leverage? If it's a race between black and white, it's gonna always be this disconnect. It's always gonna be this hatred. It's always gonna be that because it is literally a race. You know,
Yes,
call it for
ma'am.
what it is. And with that being said, that's the reason why African American people, we need to connect. We need to start trusting each other, but we also have to set the tone for trust to happen. Because I noticed that the reason why African Americans don't work well together, just from my experience, is just not having that true trust laid out. You
Now,
know, and
where does that come from?
well, obviously, you know, got to take it back to slavery days, right?
Mm-hmm.
You think about the house
That's
slave,
right.
or and then you think about the field slave. You know, it all started with that. And then not only that, that's where colorism was born as well. So there's so many different elements of our history that there needs to be light shine on it, because if we try to just band-aid and patch it up, then people will never understand why they hate us. And then African Americans will never understand why they hate us, if that makes sense. So we have to address our history. We have to know our history. African American people, we have Google now. We have all these different technologies at our fingertips. We have to use our resources, what's given to us. People that came from poverty, we know what to do. But people who, you know, had a foot up, they were in the African American community, middle income families. You guys need to start thinking, you know, once you get up, make sure once you get on a platform, or you reach a certain level in life, you know, make sure you look back and you reach back and you bring one person up. And it doesn't mean always financially. It could just be knowledge and education, things that people don't know. We don't share enough information amongst each other.
Right. And for me, and like, listen, the best thing for me personally, when I came to the realization about America and just how they think about us in general, I'm not worried about them hating me or not liking me. I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about, I heard you earlier talk about, well, we got to change the laws. Listen, there's laws on the books right now that's against everything that they're doing, right? I mean, they don't need no new laws. Trust me, you study the laws, they don't need new laws.
Actually, I agree with that, but yeah.
They just don't enforce those laws.
Yes,
They enforce it when they want to enforce it, and they ignore it when they want to ignore it, right? Because for every law they create a back door for them to get out of it. If you notice that every law they create, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the loophole deal. So
Yes.
for us, just me personally, I hate to see African Americans or any black person that come into this country giving your best to people that don't appreciate you, that marginalize you, that undervalue you. I would rather us, with all like people like you, education, I don't have 3 degrees, I got 1, that we create our own businesses, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we take all our expert, talent and build, our communities. And for me, I connect with the African continent as well and establish, what you have here on the African continent as well, and hire people there. And actually, you'll win more on the African continent than here, because you win on labor.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you win at. And you
Yeah.
provide jobs for the local economy.
Yeah, definitely. We have to give back, and I love what you're doing, by the way. And more of us have to do that, and that's the thing. I think a lot of us, we sit back and we talk about this often, my friends and our family too. We say there's so many African American people here, right here in this country, that are extremely wealthy, and we're not saying they're not doing anything. A lot of them are in the background, but we would like to see more of that type of interaction between America and Africa. Because we hear so many times white people say, "Go back to where you come from." Well, maybe we should. Maybe we should. Maybe we should take our businesses back and grow and develop and nurture different parts of Africa that really need it, as well as the poverty-stricken areas right here in America. And as we know, I mean, our society, our culture has been so destroyed on so many levels. I mean, as soon as we build it up, right, they're ready to tear it back down. So definitely love what you're doing, and I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, no other group can say this. That's why I don't like other groups like trying to compare our struggles with us. We have built time after time after time. These people burn our stuff down. That's why they talk about looting and say, listen, you guys have looted more than anybody on the planet Earth. You looted people, you looted possessions, you looted tangible items. Like, I don't want to hear you talk about looting. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm real aggressive about pointing out their history to them before they tell anything to me and you. And talking about going back to Africa, I love it over there, right? And
Yeah.
you know, have you been?
I've never, and I actually have family. Shout out to my Uncle Steve and Uncle Jerry. They live in Nigeria, so I have direct connections. I just haven't gone yet.
Oh, you got to go. You got to go. See, my first time going was in 2018 to Ethiopia, and you know, so out to Ethiopia, and then we took 30 people in 2019 to Kenya, and you know, though it was great to see the look on their faces when they got there, because like for me, and maybe you experience it when you get on the African continent, the soil, you're gonna feel literally a spiritual connection that you do not feel here. Like
Wow.
I only feel it when I'm on the African continent. When I'm here, I don't feel it. I mean, you literally feel like you're home, like literally like you've been there your whole life, like you belong there. And then you're a businesswoman. You'll start looking around at the opportunities, because you say, well, why African, you know, people, why they come here to make it? But it's a lot of political things with that. But with your advantage, like I say, you got the education, so they would love to see you over there, right? You got your American dollar, which is going to expand. Let's say Nigeria, right? It expanded in Nigeria big time. And you could teach so many people, open up so many businesses. I mean, it's like a no-brainer.
Yeah, you're right. Thank you for dropping that in the bucket, because I was actually saying that if it wasn't this year, it would be the next. But obviously, we don't know when we can start getting back out there the way we want. But whenever we can, I do plan on making a trip. First,
Well,
to visit.
some of the countries are opening up, but for me, I'm not trying to make any travel to 2021. That's kind of like our plans here. 'Cause I know like Ghana has opened back up, but you got to have a negative COVID test 72 hours before you go, and then Ghana wants you to take another test at your expense when you get there.
They're not playing with us.
Yeah, I know Tanzania. I know Tanzania. You got to have a COVID test before you arrive. Kenya is the same thing. You know, and then also some things need to change, you know, as we go along. But I will wait to 2021 personally, sister. You know, just to make sure. Let's see what happens. You know, but
yes, obviously, it's been a complete nightmare.
Yeah, but you know what we need to do, people like you, and well, I'm already doing it. We got to establish some ties in the continent. And then one thing I'm really big about too is the black hair care industry. And I talk to black women, educated black women like yourself, say, listen, sisters, y'all need to sit down and get together and say, y'all need to take the billions of dollars that's going to the majority Koreans, okay, that belong in the hands of black women. And I know black women have the education. I know how dirty they pull to keep y'all out of it. But there's sisters right here and brothers right here who's making hair care products.
Yes, it is.
I'm using one right now for my hair. And it's awesome. And the sisters right here, it's called KT Beauty Boom. I bought it at the farmer's market. And I've been, growing my hair out now, and I've been using it. And had a brother tell me today, he said, "Man, your hair growing quick." And I'm like, "Yeah, she really would." So and they making it themselves. Yeah. So we, in the midst of all of this, we still know how to do certain things.
Well, and that's always been our history, right? No matter what struggle we're going through in life, everything could be burning and falling apart. There's always going to be those business-minded, intelligent, scientific minds of African-American people that are pushing this continent forward. We had people like Garrett Morgan, who created the straightening cream. He tested it on a dog's hair, and he was like, "Wait a minute, if it's straightening dog's hair, I bet you it'll straighten our hair," and it did. You have people that were before even CJ Madam Walker, who came up with different types of hair products way back in the day. So I mean, we've always had that magic touch, so to speak, or that black girl magic they say, or that black man magic, whatever you want to call it. We've always had it embedded in us. It's in our DNA. But it just seems that a lot of these other races have just tried. They've been hell bent on destroying what we are, as a people. And it is disheartening when I look back and I say to myself, wow, I see the potential in this young man. I see the potential in this young lady. They don't see it in themselves. And it's not because they didn't have someone to teach them. It's just that society has been so programmed to think of black people in such a negative light. When you associate African-American or black, you think of something negative. It has a negative connotation. And we, as black people, we have to change that narrative for ourselves, for our families, for our society. Because in order for them to respect us, we have to reprogram the conditioning that's already been programmed in their minds.
Well, sister, let me, I'm gonna push back on one thing you said. I don't care about them respecting me because the things that they have done and continue to do, I don't want the respect from them. I don't want respect from a group of people that sit up here and watch black folks get murdered all the time and then try to say, oh, he did this, he did that, right? I don't want respect from that group of people, or a group of people who enslave people, a group
Now
of
I
people.
have noticed, they try to make
A group of people who's sitting up there and notice, and I'm bringing up Epstein, notice that no political party talking about Epstein. Now one of them going after him. Well, yeah, but Bill Clinton was over there with Epstein. So what I'm saying is I don't want their respect. I don't need it. As long as I got the respect of my people, that's all, my personal family, that's all I care about. God himself, that's it. Yeah. I don't need their respect because I don't like us getting caught up in, well, if we do this different, man, F that. We have done everything we
black on black crime, which I thought was hilarious.
Yeah, black on black crime. Like, listen, let me tell you something. Do the research. You could look and see how quote unquote white on white crime is worse. Okay, because there's more of them than us. And if you look at our crime, it's only relegated to income level.
Yeah.
Once you get out of poverty with black Americans, at middle class and up, crime is literally non-existent.
Exactly.
But in your group, crime is in every part of it.
Yeah, you made a good point. I think, a lot of people that's living in poverty, they're just trying to survive. And I'm not giving anybody that's a criminal an excuse. I'm using logic here. These people are trying to survive. If they don't have money to eat, to drink clean water, or whatever their case is, they're going to do whatever it takes to survive. If our country reached a dent, and it's already heading down, right, in a recession, but if we hit a complete dent in our way of life, being able to go get some food outside of whatever we can find in our backyards. If you have a garden, you're going to see crime increase. It doesn't matter what color you are. So, the crime is definitely directly proportional to your access to resources.
Mm-hmm.
I did a report on where I'm from, and I'm from Dallas, by the way. And I did it strictly on poverty. And I wanted to know myself, I was like, what are the driving factors of why people don't try to elevate themselves and get themselves out of this situation, this environment of poverty? And what I found is that in that area, there were no libraries, in bus route. There were no Whole Foods or whatever type of grocery store you would consider as a healthy food choice or a place to shop for groceries. There were none. The grocery stores that were around this area had a lot of rotten meat, rotten fruits, flies were flying around. And I did this through my nonprofit organization called Creating Our Community Enrichment Program. And I mean, my findings, along with the help of a few of my friends, were devastating. And I said, there's no way that they will let white America live in conditions like this. But they're not going to do anything or make a change for us because nobody in those communities are going back and saying, hey, we need this fixed in the Oak Cliff area. Now they're doing it. I did this research back in 2000, I think it was 2009, 2010. There have been drastic changes since that time. But at that time, you had people who lived there, they flourished, they moved into middle and high income areas of the city, and they didn't reach back. They didn't pour back into their community.
Well, unfortunately, Danielle, this system, this environment is very horrible. Again, see, our people coming from the continent of Africa, we have always been more community oriented. They're more individualistic society, except when it's time to conduct some white supremacy, right? So some of us get into that individualism, unfortunately. So that's why I always tell people the best way we can really thrive is remove ourselves from it completely. I mean, we can do it right here in America because I'm a firm believer we can build in America and we can build in Africa too, right? But the business world, we got to go back and forth. We got family here, etc. But some people just not going to help. Some people say, hey, I made it. I did this. But not everyone thinks that way. So we got to find the brothers and sisters that want to reach back and help, want to provide the jobs, want to put people on game for the people who want it, of course, because you can't. I'm a firm believer of this. Do not cast your pearls before swine, even in our own community.
Absolutely. I agree. Yeah. But I just wanted to throw that out there because I just know that that's something that I've noticed, a repetitive behavior within the community of people who are in poverty. When they come out, it's like, I'm not going back. I'm constantly reaching back in any way that I can. But that's also that goes along with my personality. Everybody's different. And I don't think any more or less of anybody who chooses not to. I just know that it would be more beneficial if we did.
Well, now let me ask you a question. Mentioning jobs and things like that. Do you believe the best course of action for educated, Black people, definitely talking about Black women, do you believe the best course is for them to strategically go to college for something they can start a business in?
I 1000% agree. In fact, I kind of dropped a gem on that earlier in our interview that I'm going to raise my children to own their own business. Bottom line, period. Because at the end of the day, I don't see any type of anything changing in corporate America anytime soon. Especially with the current political status that we have right now, I just don't see things moving forward and being progressive for African American women or women of color for that matter. And so, with that being said, what you said, definitely, everything we do in life from this day moving forward. If you see this interview, just know that you need to strategize and have a plan, and it should not be dependent on someone else paying you. It should be you paying yourself. You finding a way to generate your own income. That is the only way, in my opinion.
Yes, ma'am. Because isn't it beautiful that you can wear your hair how you want, dress like you want, say what you want, and don't worry about getting fired. Isn't that great?
It's liberating. It
It's
is
like
absolutely liberating.
it's liberating. And boy, them folks can't stand that. They can't stand people like me and you. They hate that because they try to hold your job over your head and keep your mouth shut, and they treat you any kind of way and talk to you any kind of way. Say, well, I can't get fired because of what I'm gonna do. And but when you got that freedom, now you got a little bit more bass in your voice, huh?
Oh, absolutely. More pep in the step and
That's
everything.
right.
You have a level of confidence that you never knew existed. And I think that a lot of us, when we work in corporate America, we have this blanket over our eyes, like they say, the wolves over your eyes you can't see. It really is the case. You're trying to conform to this environment that probably will never accept you, to be honest.
Yes,
That's
you're
just
right.
my
You're right.
opinion.
It would
So
never accept you. It haven't accepted you in over 400 years. Why would it accept you now?
and trust me, it's there. Now, some people work for better organizations or companies than others, but it still exists. And until we can weed out those individuals, it's going to be the same record playing over and over. If my mom endured this, my grandmother had to go through this, I'm going through this. I don't want my children to go through the same thing. We have to break the cycle.
Listen, I feel the exact same way. That's why, I've told people for a long time, you probably haven't seen our platform back then, but I always used to say a lot, have you in Africa plan. I say it's not just up and go. It takes you time to go set things up, whatever, but have a way to at least connect and get out, because I don't want my child growing up in this mess and say, oh, I can't wear my hair how I want. Or, like people, say, oh, I got to take my dreadlocks out because I can't get this contract, or they feel uneasy about, locks and all of that. Like, no.
That's actually a real thing. For people who may think that you're over exaggerating, that is a real issue in corporate America. They can just decline your application if you have dreadlocks. Okay. I thought it was a joke. I found out about this in 2013, I think, and I was blown away. I also have a friend whose husband was applying for an elevated position. He wanted to apply for a new position that opened up within the company, and he was looked over because of his dreadlocks.
Yeah, but let's say if you have a white gentleman, wazungus guy, has the same length of hair, I guarantee he won't get passed over.
I've worked with people, yeah, with that length of hair, no problem at all. But it's because it wasn't dreaded. But my thing is, who has the right to tell you how to wear your hair? Who wasted time to create a law that allows someone to discriminate? That's a form of discrimination. So I don't know. I don't know what kind of world we're living in, but people are just going with it, and I'm not for it.
Yeah. I'd like say, me personally, they can have at it. I'm only just doing my thing, and why should we be subjecting ourselves to that? If it's afros, if it's locks, if it's Bantu knots, if it's whatever it may be, there's always a problem with our hair. And I know a lot of Black women are pressured to put in a creamy crack or put on wigs.
Yeah. Oh my God. I mean, sometimes multiple times within 4 weeks. There's no way you should be putting chemicals in your hair to straighten your hair twice a month. First of all, you need to think about your health. I'm not going to allow anybody to put my health as secondary to me just to keep a title. That's insane. If you are intimidated by my kinky number 4C hair, then you have the problem, not me. If you pull me into the office and tell me you're afraid of my hairstyle because it's too rough, really, I'm gonna make you feel ignorant, because that's an ignorant statement to make.
Wait, hold on. So you have been told, you heard somebody being told that they're afraid of their hairstyle?
Afraid of the hairstyle. You'd be surprised what I've witnessed, yes, in corporate America.
So what is hold on. So hair in your head brings fear.
It's a physical fear that they feel, and they felt like it was necessary to report. I cannot make this up.
This happened to you or somebody else?
No, someone else.
Okay, wow. So they reported them. So I'm afraid of my life because of the hairs growing out their head.
And that person was made to cut their hair off or change their hairstyle. Yes.
See, we can't. See, the thing is, my thing is this: we can't continue this relationship. I'm a firm believer of this. Listen, we have the dog and cat relationship. Some of dogs and cats can be raised together and get along fine, but the majority of dogs and cats, they won't get along. They clash, they fight. So I'm a firm believer of that. I've understood that we just not gonna get along. Some of us may get along, but the majority not. So why do we continue to subject ourselves to that? Because
I think African American people, we look for justification. A lot of us do. We don't
validation. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we look for validation, and I think once we find our strength within ourselves, you can still work in corporate America and find out who you really are and know your limits and your standards, where you're not going to deal with. Listen, I've had some all-out battles at my job before, and I'll just tell you this: I was a very tenacious, ambitious worker, and I typically got done with my work pretty quickly, because you know what you're doing. Work is not work anymore, right? It's something that you enjoy doing, and I've been told that, hey, I got a bone for you to grab. Call me a dog. Right there in front of the team. And I looked at the leader and said, did you hear what she said? Because had I said something like that, I would have been written up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I have some funny stories for you.
Oh, wow. I know. Now, let me ask you one last thing. Something I've seen, and maybe you can relate to this too. I used to see that, like, let's say you have a sister in the office, and I've seen this in multiple jobs. And the brothers, see this particular sister, they talk about her, they view her as attractive. So the brothers are trying to like talk to this sister or whatever, not her being harassing or distracting, but I saw every time those Mzungu women getting bothered that this sister is getting attention from black men and they not getting the attention. Have you seen that?
Oh, yes, outside of corporate and in society in general. Yeah, I've seen it both ways, actually. So, I mean, look, let people be who they are. Let them, be attracted to whoever they are attracted to. We can't control it. Why do you care? That's my question. Why do we care?
But I just don't get it. Like, why are you worried about a brother talking to or trying to get whatever he's trying to talk to the sister? Right? Like, why are you mad? Why are you like, anytime a black woman is attractive in the office, those Mzungu women, they go like to war against
high alert.
They go to war against this woman.
We tend to have a jealous nature about us. A lot of us do, not every woman, but a lot of us. And I think that it's just more of, this woman's different. She has an exotic look. She doesn't look like us, and the men are attracted and we don't have the attention on us anymore. Maybe, I don't know. It could be a number of reasons. But I honestly, when I went to work, I never even thought about things like that. But, now that I think back, it could have been jealousy issues there. I'm quite sure. But I was thinking of it more from an academic standpoint. When you have a degree, that person doesn't, or if, you're a faster worker than them and they're more on the slower side of working. There's so many different ways to break it down. But either way, I know that I constantly felt like I was at war every day, and I didn't want to feel like that anymore. So I thought it was necessary.
You at war daily living in the United States as a black person, unfortunately. And I can tell you from personal experience, the only time I felt free, the only time I felt not any stress, or don't even feel like I'm black, I'm just a human, is in Africa. I can honestly tell you that. And it's like intoxicating, literally. It just, people ain't, I don't know. Like I say, you'll go and see it yourself, and then you'll probably tell me, hey, I win. Oh my God,
Yes. I can't wait to experience that because the only place I went that was probably close to that is Jamaica. And when I tell
Okay.
you the first time I went, I cried. I cried when I
Yeah,
left.
see, so there you go. So even in the
Yeah.
Caribbean, where we are the majority and we're not the minority, and if you notice, at least from what I noticed, they act totally different in countries where we're the majority and they're the minority. I noticed that. It's like night and day.
Yes, it is. Oh my God, you're so right on. You're spot on. But yeah, I think if I could maybe associate that feeling with how you felt in Africa, I can't wait to go then because I just felt at peace. And that's how you know we're living every day in this country under extreme amounts of stress. And
Mm-hmm.
that correlates directly with our health. And so
Yes.
you look at the news channels and they're always saying that African Americans are prone for diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol. But then you never think about what are the triggers, what are the factors in that poor health. Yes, some of it is genetic, but a lot of it is the everyday stressors that we encounter just going to work. We never even think about that.
Right, right. And then when people are stressed, they handle it different ways. Some people are stressed, they go into using vices like alcohol, drugs, etc. Some people use food to cope with stress, you know. So we eat too much food, drink too much alcohol, whatever affects our health. We know we are fed the most horrible food on the planet Earth in Western nations versus you probably know in the Caribbean and definitely in the African nations, you literally can eat all day and just lose weight.
That's what I'm hearing. I
Yes, I lost every time I go, I lose weight.
yeah. Yeah, that tells you something about the food and the chemicals and things like that we
Mm-hmm.
have in it. It's not real. And that's why I alluded to earlier about people having gardens, because that's something that we should really consider. I have a garden in my backyard and we pull from it, vegetables and fruits. Now, granted, some people live in apartments or condominiums and you can just buy a container, add some soil, add your seeds and grow it. These are things we should definitely consider in improving our health, and then making time for yourself to just walk, simply walk. We don't even have time to walk nowadays. On these high stress profile jobs, we're constantly working, working, working. We're not thinking about ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah, we got to take care of ourselves because if we don't take care of ourselves, we will not be here. And like I said, for me personally, like I said, me and my wife had the discussion. We want to definitely take our talents to the African continent and do what we do there. And that's just kind of what we got to do. I told my kids, hey, we're going to build a place, make sure, you can come or whoever else, or we're going to we got to do our thing. But, Miss Danielle, tell people how to get, to your book or when it's going to come out. When it's coming out.
So it's going to come out September 26th. So that's this month. It's just in a few weeks. We're going to have a book release. It's going to be at Peli Peli. Go figure, right?
I've been to Peli Peli. That my wife loves that place. It is
It's
good.
so amazing. It's going to be in the Galleria area. So if you guys have time, stop by, give you a signed book. We'll be there from 12 to 2:30 p.m. on September 26th. That's a Saturday. If you want to get more information on the upcoming event, go to www.femaleminorityreport.com. You can also email me and be a part of the newsletter at fminorityr@gmail.com.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. So make sure you can check out her website, and people could probably send your email there, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. If they go to the website, they can sign up to the newsletter as well. Either or.
Okay, so make sure you go to the website. You may work in corporate America, sisters, or even brothers, and may want to ask some questions or reach out to her. Maybe we didn't get to certain things, so make sure you utilize that. We will make sure to put her website in that pinned comment, the first one up there at the top. So, Danielle, it was great talking to you today, and you definitely understand what's going on in corporate America, and it's the same stories why I hear all the time, and I'm glad you got out.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me as a guest on your show. It was a true honor. I thoroughly enjoyed it. If there's somebody out there that wants to tell their story, but they're afraid to put it out there, like I said, email me. I'll get it together for you. Create that book that you always dreamt of writing, because I understand how you feel.